Constitution to resist and protest. What a gift, because in many nations, protesting and resisting a government will cost you your job. It'll cost you prison time. It'll cost you punishment and even execution. The church is called to lead in protest when governments do not act with justice toward their people. That is why the black church during the days of segregation and the civil rights movement called our nation to truly live out what the Declaration says. That all people are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Martin Luther King Jr. famously said in a letter from Birmingham jail, the church must be reminded that it is not the master or servant of the state, but rather the conscience of the state. It must be the guide and critic of the state, and never its tool. We as the church and individual Christ followers are not called to embrace partisan leanings above Jesus. Instead, we are called to speak the love and grace of God to all parties, to all government entities, and to all leaders, so that they may uphold their God-given call to bring justice to the whole of the people. Justice for all. When they do not, we must speak. We must act. And when necessary, like our forefathers, we must resist. Because like Peter said in Acts 5, we must obey God rather than men. One final word of many final words. Across history, many leaders have co-opted the church into their government. They have made the church the servant of their government, the tool of their government. And sadly, many times, the church itself went for this. The church saw it as a good idea. These governments have claimed, either due to the divine right of kings or some other call to revival or a call from God, that their government is a Christian government and their government is doing God's will and work. In such a culture, the church, as King said, becomes the servant of the state. And this is dangerous because God is subservient to no one, to no government. We know it's dangerous because we've seen what happens. And folks, many times Christians do this in a well-meaning fashion. They reason, if we just had a Christian nation, then that nation could legislate in a Christian fashion, and the whole nation would become Christian. We are not the first nation to think of this idea. Okay? It's been tried from Constantine to Britain to France to Spain. Nations in Latin America and South America, it's been tried. And when it's tried, what ends up happening is that the church becomes subservient to the state, and the church simply carries out the state's demands. And those demands most often end up being terrifying. After all, Hitler embraced the church in Germany. The church joined with him in promoting and carrying his Nazi propaganda. Mussolini was not a Christian, but he embraced the Catholic Church. As a matter of fact, he made on his own Catholicism the state religion to curry favor with the Catholics of Italy, and they supported his fascist work. After the fall of Yugoslavia, the Roman Catholic Church stirred up nationalistic pride in Croatia and Slovenia, whereas the Eastern Orthodox Church stirred up nationalistic pride in Serbia. And what the clergy in these different nations did is they said, for our nation and for God, we must resist these other nations. And it led to civil war throughout the 90s. It led to ethnic cleansing. It led to genocide. Folks, often when we become Christian nations, what ends up happening is we end up that Christian nationalism leads to hatred of other ethnic groups and towards people who disagree with the government talking points. We've seen it play out in history time and time again. History has also shown that Christianity serving the state leads to violence, and labeling people who disagree